morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to my channel. Have a beautiful day.
Echoes of unexpected love. In the bustling city of Evergreen, where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the streets hummed with the rhythm of endless ambition, lived a young man named Ethan Harper. At 27 years old, Ethan was what many would call a young boy at heart, optimistic, a bit naive, and perpetually searching for that one connection that would make his world feel complete. He worked as a graphic designer in a mid-sized firm, spending his days crafting digital worlds while his own life felt like a blank canvas waiting for color. Ethan's quest for love had begun a decade earlier, when he was just 17. Back then, in high school, he was the shy kid with a sketchbook under his arm, doodling portraits of imaginary girlfriends. His first crush was on Sarah, the girl next door with freckles and a laugh like wind chimes. He mustered the courage to ask her to prom, only to be gently turned down. She was already going with the quarterback. That rejection stung, but it ignited a fire in him. One day, he promised himself, "I'll find someone who sees me." Over the next 10 years, Ethan's pursuit of a girlfriend became a saga of trial and error, hope and heartbreak. At 18, fresh out of high school and into community college, he tried online dating for the first time. He swiped right on profiles that promised adventure and shared interests in art and music. His first date was with Emma, a fellow art student. They met at a coffee shop, and for an hour, conversation flowed like a river. But when he leaned in for a goodnight kiss, she pulled back. "You're sweet, Ethan, but I don't feel the spark." He nodded, hiding his disappointment behind a smile. By 19, he joined a local hiking club, thinking shared outdoor experiences might lead to romance. There was Emily, with her infectious energy and love for sunsets. They hiked trails together, shared packed lunches, and even camped under the stars once. Ethan confessed his feelings during a quiet moment by a campfire. Emily hesitated. "I like you as a friend, Ethan. Let's not ruin that." Another door closed. The years blurred into a pattern. At 20, he dated Lisa from work, a brief fling that ended when she moved away for a better job. "Distance is too hard," she said over the phone. At 21, he tried speed dating events, where 5-minute conversations felt like auditions. He met dozens, but none called back. Maybe I'm too picky, he wondered, staring at his reflection. Turning 22 brought a phase of self-improvement. Ethan hit the gym, read books on charisma, and even took dance classes. That's where he met Sophia, a graceful dancer with dreams of Broadway. They twirled across the floor for months, and Ethan thought this was it. They went on dates to jazz clubs and picnics in the park. But one evening, over dinner, Sophia admitted, "I think we're better as dance partners. I don't see a future." Crushed, Ethan took a break from dating, focusing on his career. At 23, he ventured into apps again, this time with a more polished profile. He matched with Rachel, a book lover like him. They bonded over classic novels, quoting lines from Pride and Prejudice during late-night texts. Their first date was magical, a bookstore crawl followed by tea. But after a few weeks, Rachel ghosted him. No explanation, just silence. Ethan deleted the apps, vowing to meet people organically. The following year, at 24, he volunteered at an animal shelter, hoping kindness would attract love. There was Olivia, another volunteer with a soft spot for stray cats. They worked side by side, laughing at the antics of kittens. Ethan asked her out, and she said yes. They dated for 3 months, the longest yet. But Olivia wanted kids soon, and Ethan wasn't ready. "Our timelines don't match," she said tearfully. Another goodbye. By 25, frustration set in. Friends were getting engaged, posting pictures of rings and honeymoons. Ethan attended weddings alone, dodging questions about his love life. He tried therapy, where his counselor suggested he was putting too much pressure on himself. Love comes when you're not looking, she advised. So, he focused on hobbies, painting, running marathons, traveling solo to Europe. In Paris, he flirted with a tourist named Claire, but it was just a vacation fling, nothing more. At 26, he gave dating one last serious push. He signed up for a matchmaking service, spending savings on professional photos and coaching. They set him up with Vanessa, a marketing executive with a sharp wit. Dates were fun, dinners, movies, weekend getaways. Ethan fell hard, envisioning a future. But Vanessa broke it off after 6 months. You're amazing, but I don't feel that deep connection. Devastated, Ethan swore off dating. 10 years of trying, and nothing, he lamented to his best friend, Mike. Maybe I'm meant to be alone. Now, at 27, Ethan had resigned himself to singledom. He threw himself into work, earning a promotion, and adopted a dog named Buddy for companionship. Life was stable, if not exciting. He spent evenings walking Buddy in the park, sketching landscapes, and reading novels. Love seemed like a distant dream. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking Buddy through Evergreen Central Park, fate intervened. Buddy, ever the enthusiastic golden retriever, yanked his leash toward a bench where an elegant woman sat reading a book. The dog jumped up, tail wagging furiously, licking her hand. "Oh, hello there," she laughed, her voice warm and melodic. "I'm so sorry," Ethan apologized, pulling Buddy back. He gets excited around new people. "No harm done," she replied, closing her book. Her eyes sparkled with amusement, deep brown, framed by subtle lines that spoke of wisdom and laughter. She had silver-streaked hair pulled into a neat bun, and she wore a simple yet stylish cardigan over a floral dress. "What's his name?" "Buddy." "And I'm Ethan." "Eleanor," she said, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you both." They chatted briefly about dogs, the weather, her love for classic literature. Eleanor was 60, a retired librarian who volunteered at the local community center. She had a gentle aura, a quiet confidence that drew Ethan in. As he walked away, he felt a strange pull. "See you around," he called. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan found himself returning to the park at the same time, hoping to see Eleanor. Buddy seemed to sense it, leading him straight to her bench. Their conversations deepened. She shared stories of her travels in her youth, backpacking through Asia, teaching English in Europe. Ethan opened up about his art, showing her sketches on his phone. "You're talented," she said one day, admiring a drawing of the park fountain. "Have you ever exhibited?" "Not yet." Too scared of rejection, he admitted. Eleanor smiled knowingly. "Rejection is part of life, dear. But so is perseverance." Ethan laughed. "I've had plenty of that in my love life." Over coffee one afternoon. Their meetings had evolved from park benches to a nearby cafe. Ethan confided in her about his 10-year quest. "I've tried everything. Dates, apps, clubs. Nothing sticks." Eleanor listened patiently, her eyes kind. "Love isn't about trying, Ethan. It's about connecting. Sometimes, it finds you in unexpected places." He nodded, but inside, a spark ignited. Eleanor was unlike anyone he'd met. She was wise, funny, and genuinely interested in him. Age didn't matter in their talks, it was the shared laughter, the mutual respect. As winter approached, their friendship blossomed. They attended art exhibits together, where Eleanor pointed out nuances Ethan had missed. He introduced her to modern music, and she taught him to waltz in her living room. One evening, as snow fell outside, Ethan realized his feelings had shifted. Eleanor, I think I'm falling for you. She paused, her teacup midway to her lips. Ethan, I'm 60. You're young, with your whole life ahead. I know, he said earnestly. But age is just a number. You make me feel seen, valued. Isn't that what matters? Tears glistened in her eyes. I've been alone since my husband passed 15 years ago. I never thought I'd feel this way again. They embraced, and in that moment, the age gap dissolved. Their relationship faced challenges, of course. Ethan's friends raised eyebrows. She's older than your mom, Mike exclaimed. Family dinners were awkward, his parents worried about the future, about children, about societal judgments. Eleanor's side was similar. Her adult children questioned his intentions. Is he after your money? Her son asked. But Eleanor stood firm. He's kind and genuine. That's enough. Society whispered too, stares in public, comments from strangers. But Ethan and Eleanor built a fortress of love. They traveled to the countryside, where no one knew them, holding hands by lakesides. He painted her portrait, capturing her timeless beauty. She wrote poems about his youthful spirit. One spring day, under a blooming cherry tree, Ethan proposed. Eleanor, will you marry me? Not despite our differences, but because of them. Yes, she whispered, slipping on the ring, a simple band with a sapphire, her birthstone. Their wedding was intimate, in the park where they met. Friends and family, initially skeptical, witnessed their joy and softened. Love knows no bounds, the officiant said. In the years that followed, Ethan and Eleanor lived a life of quiet happiness. He pursued his art, opening a gallery with her encouragement. She rediscovered passions, joining him on adventures. They adopted another dog, traveled to places she'd only read about, and created memories that bridged generations. Ethan never regretted his 10-year search, it led him to Eleanor. And she, in turn, found in him a second chance at love. Together, they proved that happiness comes not from perfect matches, but from open hearts. As they grew old together, Ethan catching up in years, Eleanor timeless in spirit, they often sat on that same park bench, Buddy's successor at their feet. Who knew? Ethan would say, kissing her hand. Life did, she'd reply, smiling. And in their loving gaze, the world felt right.
Let go all I bought up away, top of you